Why does your hair hurt? Scalp pain when moving your hair around, it's not an uncommon symptom. Getting to the root cause can be challenging. In today's video, we're going to talk about 10 possible reasons why your hair hurts. Number 1, scalp pain is not uncommon locally when you have a lot of oily buildup on the scalp. Say you haven't been shampooing your scalp frequently, or maybe you've been using a lot of products that have left a residue behind on the scalp. This leads to a favorable environment for that yeast, Malassezia, to get too comfortable. Your immune system doesn't quite care for that. It reacts. There's inflammation. There are a lot of nerves in our scalp, and so inflammation can kind of rev those up and make the scalp uncomfortable, painful, especially as you move the hair strands from side to side. This might be more diffuse, meaning all over the scalp, or just in particular locations, such as overlying areas of the scalp where you have muscle fibers. It's really important to shampoo your scalp at least once a week to remove oily buildup. I suggest if you use a lot of hair styling products like pomades, mousses, etc., and you use a lot of dry shampoo for styling purposes, that once a week maybe consider incorporating a clarifying shampoo. These tend to have stronger acting, if you will, surfactants that are really good at going in there and breaking up that residue, as opposed to maybe a milder, gentler baby shampoo. But consistent scalp cleansing is not only helpful for reducing inflammation in the scalp, but it also supports healthy hair growth in the long run. Number 2 is you actually have a folliculitis. Now, folliculitis is just a broad term for anything that causes inflammation around the hair follicle. There are a whole host of different types of folliculitis. Check out my video on folliculitis for a deep dive, but it's possible that you have a little bacterial infection around the hair follicle, bacterial folliculitis. This might present with what looks like scalp pimples, little pus bumps, and this is an infection down in the hair follicle. Your immune system has come in, created a lot of inflammation. Inflammation around the hair follicle can lead to scalp pain that is exacerbated when moving the hair around, just where the hair is coming out. It's a folliculitis, the hair follicle. That's why you have pain there. It's important to see your healthcare provider if you have something like this going on, because prescription treatments likely will be needed to treat the bacterial infection. Antibiotics treat bacterial infection. It's also possible that you have a fungal infection of the scalp, ringworm of the scalp, that is localized way down in the hair follicle, in which case you likely would need to go on a course of oral antifungal medications to treat the fungal infection, which is now deeper in the scalp around the follicle, causing hair pain. One of the more common reasons for hair pain is the way you have been styling your hair. Tight hairstyles like really tight braids, that slick back bun look, this can lead to a lot of traction on the hair shaft, which can end up leading to soreness, tenderness, pain, especially as you move the hair strands around. This is going to be most notable in areas where your hairstyle is putting the most traction on your hair. For example, if you have your hair pulled back really tight, you might have hair pain here. If you've been wearing a tight bun on the top of your head and pulling these hairs tight, you might find that you have pain when moving the hair around the crown of the scalp. If you wear hair extensions that put a lot of traction on the hair back here, well, you might have scalp pain at the back of your scalp, along with the fact that this chronic traction can create some inflammation around the hair follicles that can lead to even more stubborn discomfort with moving the hair around. Now, you want to be careful when it comes to constantly wearing really tight hairstyles, because it can cause breakage of the hair, and with long-term ongoing traction that is not alleviated, you don't take a break from those hairstyles, it can actually scar the follicle down and you can have permanent hair loss. I suggest wearing loose hairstyles, like a loose ponytail with just a little old school scrunchie, or looser braids. If you prefer to wear braids, make sure that you alternate the direction with which you braid your hair. That way you offload that traction on the hair strands. This is key for eliminating that scalp pain, that hair pain, and for protecting the health of your hair, cutting down on breakage and ultimately reducing the risk that you lose your hair in those areas. Aside from tight ponytails, braids, and hair extensions, Also, headbands can put some traction on the hair here and contribute perhaps to hair pain for some people. It's really popular right now for people to go to bed with these heatless curls, sock curls, bathrobe curls. Those trends are all over TikTok as a way to get heatless curls, but it can put a lot of undue traction on the hair shaft. So if you are going to pursue one of these modalities to curl your hair, make sure you're not doing it too tight, because as you sleep at night, you roll back and forth, it can put a lot of traction on the hair strands. We already talked about the potential for a bacterial infection around the hair follicle and possibly a fungal infection, folliculitis. But a sneaky little eruption that can happen and cause significant hair pain is actually reactivation of the chickenpox virus. This is known as shingles. Typically affects one side of the body. It's more common in older adults with age, as well as in people who have a weakened immune system. But honestly, it can happen in younger adults as well. You may have heard of shingles. You may have even seen pictures of it erupting on one side of the chest or down the thigh. However, it can affect the scalp, and it's easy for it to be misdiagnosed. It starts out as just like a little bit of tingling, kind of these sharp shooting pains, maybe even some itch, and then you have an eruption of little water blisters. Someone might look at your scalp very quickly and say, oh, looks like maybe you have a folliculitis. But if they don't look very carefully, they might miss the fact that these are grouped in such a way that it actually suggests shingles. Now, shingles virus, once it wakes back up, you will shed viral particles. So you can give someone chickenpox who has never had it before or is not vaccinated. Check out my video on shingles. I give a lot of tips and tricks on how to take care of it, how to reduce the risk that you spread it to someone else. But yeah, it can easily be missed when it affects the scalp, and it's very painful. Now, those little blisters will crust over and go away usually in about 14 days. And for most people, that's it. However, a lot of people can experience what's known as post-herpetic neuralgia, persistent symptoms of pain, discomfort, numbness, tingling, sharp shooting pains in the affected area, including the scalp. So it's definitely possible to have persistent hair pain after shingles has resolved as part of what's known as post-herpetic neuralgia. Post-herpetic neuralgia is going to be more common in older adults, people who have a weakened immune system. The shingles vaccine can reduce your risk of getting post-herpetic neuralgia. Again, I talk all about this in detail in my video on shingles. Definitely a video not to miss, because it's not pleasant to go through. Speaking of things that are unpleasant to go through, a bit outside of my expertise, but it's definitely a problem that leads to, in many cases, scalp pain, hair pain, localized scalp tenderness, is you might actually be suffering from tension headaches or migraines, and localized pain can be a symptom of that. Maybe the crown of your head, for example, the back of your head, the occiput region as it's known. These can be areas where you have different types of headache pain syndromes that can lead to, well, pain with moving the hair strands around. Trichodynia. You'd want to see a neurologist for diagnosis of your headaches and treatment, because there are medications that can nip these in the bud and ultimately alleviate your hair pain issues. Just like folliculitis is a broad category of a lot of different possible conditions, hair loss is a really broad category of all sorts of different types of conditions, but certain types of hair loss might be associated with hair pain. For example, the hair shedding disorder, not true hair loss, but rather hair shedding, telogen effluvium, commonly actually presents with hair pain as the individual is going through the massive hair shedding. Now, if you've never seen my videos about telogen effluvium, it's a phenomenon in which your hair cycle shifts around to put more hairs in the resting and shedding phase. Usually happens after some sort of stressful life event, whether that be physical stress or emotional stress. Often can happen after you've had a baby, or maybe after starting and stopping birth control pills, because those hormonal signals do play a role in the hair cycle, and so that can get a bit out of whack when you start and stop birth control pills. Also, someone who has had a major surgery, a recent fever, maybe you've been in a car accident, or maybe you're just going through significant emotional stress. The COVID virus is known to lead to telogen effluvium and hair shedding. Check out my video all about this topic. It definitely is something that a lot of people experience approximately 3 months after being sick, and frequently frequently in that situation, they might have hair pain. Now, the good news about telogen effluvium is it's not a true permanent hair loss disorder, meaning the hair follicle is not going to become scarred. The hair that's shed certainly can and does grow back. It's really just more hairs are in the shedding phase than are supposed to. And that all can get back on track provided the underlying root cause of the hair shedding has been addressed. Number 7 is you have sustained a sunburn in your scalp. Now, I know we're in the winter months. Maybe you're not going outdoors as much, so this may seem irrelevant, but a current or recent sunburn can leave the hair, well, painful. Not just a sunburn, but also a thermal burn. Maybe you burned your scalp with a curling iron, you used the blow dryer on a really high heat setting, and you held it too close to the scalp. Well, that can create a lot of inflammation. And again, anything that creates inflammation in the scalp around the hair follicle can lead to either scalp pain diffusely or localized tenderness around the hair pain, trichodynia. Something we don't want to miss is a tumor in the scalp leading to the symptoms of hair pain. Tumor is a very scary word, but there are tumors that are not dangerous, and then there are tumors that are, well, cancerous and most certainly need to be removed. I have lots of videos on different lumps and bumps that can happen in the scalp. And of course, skin cancers can appear in the scalp, and it would not be out of the realm of possibility to have hair pain. Along with tumors are something that is called a metastasis, meaning you can have a cancer in the body that spreads to other parts of the body. That's known as a metastasis, and it is not out of the realm of possibility to have a metastasis go to your scalp. As dermatologists, we actually find cancer in the scalp as a metastasis, and it certainly can lead to hair pain. I'm not telling you this to terrify you, just so you can be aware that it's not as straightforward as you might think when it comes to hair pain. There are things that need to be ruled out. That's why seeing your healthcare provider is so important. Not just tumors of the scalp, but also any underlying skin condition that you have that might impact the scalp. For example, psoriasis is a chronic inflammatory condition that affects the skin, including the scalp. You get these areas where the skin grows kind of too quickly, there's a lot of inflammation, and you get the development of these thickened, scaly plaques, raised areas of the skin. Often impacts the scalp, as a matter of fact, and that inflammation from the psoriasis plaques, well, it can certainly lead to hair pain. Also, some people might develop a contact dermatitis related to some sort of styling product, perhaps that they are putting directly on the scalp. That inflammation can lead to these symptoms of hair pain. Atopic dermatitis is a condition where you have an impaired barrier and a tendency towards different allergic conditions, and you get these itchy, weepy rashes. It can affect the scalp. Inflammation, hair pain would not be unexpected. Also, lupus can affect the scalp. Check out my video all about how lupus affects the skin, but you can get lupus skin lesions in the scalp, a lot of inflammation around the hair follicle with lupus, leading to hair loss. Hair pain might precede the hair loss and be an early warning sign that the lupus is flaring up in the scalp, and an important time to treat ASAP to save the hair from the scarring process that would otherwise lead to permanent hair loss. Lichen planus, another condition that I have a video on. It is a type of inflammatory condition, and it can impact the hair follicle, leading to hair loss, and scar the follicle, leading to permanent hair loss. A variant of lichen planus might affect your frontal hair line, and you might start experiencing a receding hairline and scalp pain, hair pain in that area prior to losing the hair. That's known as frontal fibrosing alopecia. Check out my video all about receding hairline, not to miss. Last but not least is something known as the burning scalp syndrome. Burning scalp syndrome, you might have, well, symptoms of burning, stinging, tingling, sensitivity, and even hair pain. There are a variety of possible conditions that might lead to this. You may have problems with the discs in your neck spine, your cervical spine, that could secondarily lead to hair pain and the burning scalp syndrome. Some people develop burning scalp syndrome when they are under significant emotional distress, but it is something that does happen and may be accompanied by hair pain. There are certain medications that can treat this pain, this discomfort, and make these unbearable symptoms go away. For example, pregabalin or a tricyclic antidepressant, amitriptyline. So talk to your healthcare provider, and that is something that might be considered. All right, guys, so those are some possible reasons why your hair hurts. If you do have hair pain, I really hope this video was informative, highlighting the different potential causes, but see your healthcare provider to get to the root cause of why your hair hurts. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and as always, don't forget, sunscreen and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye!